Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of Tales and Tips. I'm Dr. Julie Dameron, local veterinarian, and I feel very fortunate today to have several great guests from the Women's Auxiliary of the Carl Ross Post Unit 16, as well as Dr. Liz Blanchard. So to my left, I have Mary Alt, I have Mary Adame, Dr. Liz Blanchard, and Linda Vasquez. So let's go through and have each of you introduce yourselves. I'm going to start with Mary Alt.
Okay. Thank you for having us here this morning, and good morning to everybody. My name is Mary Alt, and I belong to the American Legion Auxiliary probably for about the last 5 years, and I am the president of the American Legion Auxiliary Carl Ross Post 16.
All right. And Mary Adame.
Thank you very much. My name is Mary Adame, and I've been a member of the American Legion Auxiliary for like 20 years.
Wow.
Volunteering for the veterans and the veterans' families of Carl Ross Unit 16, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, and can you mention also about Tino as well?
Oh, okay. My husband, Tino Adame, he's a Vietnam veteran. He is a Marine. You know, you never say past Marine. You always say former Marine because you are always a Marine. So, and he was in Vietnam in the 60s, of course, and he was wounded in the right ankle. He was shot with an AK-47, and he didn't even know he was hit. He fell, and he thought, you know, he had tripped, so he started to walk, try to get up and walk, and his comrade said, you're hit, and he says, oh, I don't even know it. So he carried him out of the area, and the first helicopter was shot down, the rescue helicopter, so they had to wait for another one, and then he was sent off to the hospital. And he was in the military and as a Marine, United States Marine Corps, for a little less than 2 years. And he knows the exact, I think he said 1 year, 9 months, 14 days or something like that. Yeah, so then they did surgery in Japan. They were going to amputate his leg because of the seriousness of the wound, but the Japanese doctor saved the wound. But he's been having a lot of problems since then, of course. Yeah, wow. It's been 50 years since he was shot.
I'm sorry to hear he's having a lot of problems, but our community is so fortunate to have both of you. Dr. Liz Blanchard.
Yes, thank you for inviting us. My husband's a U.S. Marine, Colonel of the Marine, and he was a career man for 25 years. I've been auxiliary for 15 years, and currently I'm president of the Disabled American Charities of San Joaquin County, and we serve veterans exclusively. We help pay the utility bills, we help pay back rent, we give them vouchers to shop at Kmart. So we do a lot for veterans, and I guess that's the legacy that my Marine husband left me.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. I had no idea you do so much community outreach.
And we do a lot of scholarship. That's my main thrust, is to get our Marines, sailors, Army, Coast Guard, all the education we can provide so that they have a tool to use when they leave the school. Recently, I got $90,000 scholarship from Dr. Henry Wong, who is a cardiologist, retired. And he donated a house to us. We sold it for $90,000, and it all went to help veterans.
That's amazing. And I don't know how you personally do all you do. I know you through Rotary, but you're also involved heavily with the port. I don't know how you have time for all the different things, and we see you all over the community.
Thank you, but God's been good. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Linda Vasquez.
Good morning. My name is Linda Vasquez, and I'm the co-chair for the Moving Wall Stockton 2017. I was practically raised at Carl Ross Post 16. My family's been very involved with the post. From my uncle to my parents, and I just have a real heart for not only veterans, but especially Vietnam veterans.
Awesome. And Mary, I'm going to go back to you. I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to talk about what military family that you have.
My husband, like Tino Adame, is Ron Alt, and he served 2 tours in Vietnam.
Wow.
And he was there from 1963 to 1967. He was under 2 presidents, under President Kennedy. And then when President Kennedy was assassinated, President Johnson took over and kind of escalated the war a little bit. That is when my husband was injured the second time around. He almost lost his legs in Vietnam. And like the Japanese doctors that took care of our soldiers, first he was on the ship, and then he ended up going to Oakville Hospital and spending 18 months there to recover from his injuries. In fact, this Thursday is his birthday. He'll be 72 years old.
Wow.
And, he still suffers from the injuries that he sustained back in the day. And no matter how they try to get through it, you have to give them a lot of credit for their survival skills in every aspect of their lives. Not only is it physical and emotional, and they're dealing with this every day, that constant pain, the constant concerns about their health, and he lives it each day as it goes. But when the PTSD or the physical injuries and the psychological injuries, for our veterans who were he's a combat Marine, and so he was first on the line, like Tino probably. The combat Marines were there first on the line. So they saw a lot of the friends being killed. My husband was one. There were 3 who survived the ambush in his platoon, and he was one of the 3 that survived. And he suffers great survival guilt. But he made it out of there, and there was a reason for him and those other 2 guys to make it out. And that's where we are now. You'll find that veterans that have gone through that kind of trauma have a lot of relationship issues, and they get through it by hopefully going to counseling. I'm my husband's 3rd wife, but we've been together for 36 years. The first 2 wives didn't have a clue what was going on in his brain and his body and what he was feeling, like a lot of our veterans who returned with major injuries. And so when he got to me, I said, I'm going to be the 3rd one you end up divorcing this. We go get some kind of counseling. And so, thank God the resources are out there through the VA to get that kind of counseling, and we did, and we're still together. But you will find that relationships suffer a lot when a veteran comes home, and particularly a combat veteran, a veteran who has been who's seen it. They've seen the worst case scenarios with their friends dying beside them.
I can't imagine what the guilt would feel like, and for us, we just look at it as we're so fortunate that they made it, but you don't think about and realize how devastated they feel. I've lost all my friends. Why did I make it? And they didn't. Yeah,
and one of the things he just expressed to me last night, I was telling Mary Adame and a couple of my friends, and all the years we've been together, I've heard a lot of stories, but he's very resistant to being recognized as a Vietnam vet. I've got to pinch him to stand up, and come on, they're recognizing the vets, and he'll only stand up because I'm egging him on to do that. But he goes, Mary, he goes, the people we should be honoring and talking to are the families of those deceased veterans who are on the wall, not the veterans who are here now. We survived. We feel guilty walking around when our brothers and our sisters are on the wall. So for me to celebrate, walking or being recognized because I'm here and I'm alive, it's really hard. It's a conflict for him, because he goes, the ones they should be interviewing or talking to would be the family members of the deceased veteran. You need to go back and talk to the brothers or sisters, or a lot of them don't have their parents anymore, but how it is, what it's like for them to feel the loss of, losing their child, their daughter or their sons, or their nephews or any relative. And I didn't really think about that a whole lot until recently when my husband talked about it, and when he saw a lot of interviews being either broadcasted or on the news or on the newspaper.
Well, and that's a great point, and just a reminder that our freedom is not free, and so many have given up the ultimate sacrifice. I just learned this morning that 3 new names have been added to the wall, so I'll have whoever wants to talk about the number of names that are on the wall.
Well, before we get into that, I just want to say one more thing about what Mary mentioned about combat veterans. There was an article not too long ago saying that the combat veterans, their life expectancy is lower than the ones that didn't go to war. They didn't see war. That yes, they did serve. Yes, they put their signature on the paper saying that they're serving. They wanted to serve, and but the life expectancy is lower, like maybe the 70s, and my husband and I are both 70. And so I just wanted to add that it's very like Mary said, your partners suffer along, but in a different way. But trying to console them and trying to see what's out there for help. And there is a lot of help. There wasn't always that. There's
Do you want
much
to
help
talk
now.
about how someone can get help that needs help that's been in the military, either combat or not?
Well, you can go to the there's a hotline. I don't know that number outright. Maybe we should, huh?
I have the suicide hotline number.
Oh, okay. And then there's also the VSO, which is the Veteran Service Office. They're usually in every city, and just have to look it up. The Veterans Service Office, VSO. They can go there, and they can go to their regular doctor or to their VA doctor and get some counseling. They can go to mental health. A lot of them are resistant because they think, well, I'm not crazy, but it's not that. It's just that they have a lot of issues, and it's good to talk to someone that can help them. And I know my husband has been helped, and myself as well. And so it's very frustrating with some of the things. I know when we go to parties, he's always on the alert. He sits near he wants to know where the exits are. And he always sits where he can see everyone. He doesn't have his back towards the crowd, and so he's very vigilant at all times. And then other times too, when we've been to weddings or outings, in a place where there's a lot of garden, a lot of beautiful flowers, a lot of greenery, it suffocates him because he does think about Vietnam with all the
Wow.
the foliage there.
I wouldn't have thought of that. You
Yeah,
would
I
think
hadn't
that would
either.
be tranquil, relaxing,
Yes,
beautiful.
exactly. Yes,
Wow.
and so it's at times it's upsetting to me, but then I, of course, I support him 100%. But you think, like you said, oh my gosh, it's nice here, and then we have to leave. So of course I leave. We leave because I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. So a lot of aspects to it.
That's awesome that you're so supportive. So what do you think it takes to be a spouse of someone that's been through combat and support them? I know you've mentioned that there's mental issues, there's physical, PSTD.
PTSD.
I could comment on that a little
Go
bit.
ahead.
Like I said, Ron and I have been together for 36 years, and we have all our children are grown. But through the years, when events would happen where there'd be a little bit of an emotional breakdown, I'd always tell them, you have to talk to the kids. You got to tell them what's going on because they're going to think it's them. They don't know the experiences you had when you were over in Vietnam, and they don't understand. Sometimes they think it's them. So again, relationships, even with the children, are affected as well. So in terms of being a spouse and supporting your husband or your partner or whatever, you really have to. It takes a little while to get into that, to understand what's going on with them. The first time they have their dreams, when you're looking at them, oh my goodness, what's going on here? The first time they're sitting in that chair and they're talking with their eyes wide open about an experience they had in Vietnam, and you think they're talking to you, and they're not. They're just reliving that experience. And I try to talk to him while he's going through it. So, and then he wakes up and he gets out of it. Or when they wake up, and they're on all fours, limping, thinking they're back in the jungle. These are just, some of the experiences that I've actually experienced with a Vietnam veteran, with my husband. There's many more where he's pulled over, maybe Memorial Day or Veterans Day. He's been known to pull over on the side of the road. He goes, I cried for 2 hours. Something hit him like that. And then something triggered, and these emotions in it where he just had to purge himself for a little bit, for a couple of hours, and just get that out of his system until the next time that it occurs. But, being alert and being aware is real important for all veterans, wives or partners or husbands, because there's a lot of women in the military as well, because they're not the same person they were when they come home. They're different. They've been affected by the horrors of war. And part of the PTSD issue is not being able to control what is happening around you. You have to work with it, go through it, survive in it. And then when you come home, sometimes that same mentality is sticking with you through life. You know, you want to keep people away from you that are close to your heart because you're afraid something's going to happen to them. They're going to hurt you. And so they do this. And so part of their therapy is trying to bring in that circle of family and friends and say it's going to be okay. This is part of life, you know. So, but it's not an easy task. It's something they live with. They survive. They're survivors till the day they die.
I just want to add to that. I'm a licensed psychologist, so I've been working with veterans. I've had 2 veterans that almost killed their wives. They have nightmares. They wake up and they started strangling their wives. So we've had to work with the wives to protect themselves. And it's been difficult for families because the wife loves to sleep with the husbands, but the danger is there when they wake up. They don't even remember they had strangled a wife. And so we had to teach the wives when they're being strangled how to combat the husband. So I understand what you're saying, Mary. Yeah.
That's scary.
And in the last 4 years, I've worked with Vietnam. We've had 4 suicides, 1 a year, and it's devastating. And the suicide rate is increasing. Yeah, that's the sad part.
Yeah, the suicide rate is 22 a day. 22
Wow.
veterans a day.
22 a day. That's
Yeah.
a huge number.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention the suicide hotline is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255.
Yeah, with my experience also, when he was at first when we were married, I didn't know many of the things that they, you know, with the PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and I would go up to him and touch him, and he would just about hit me. He was sound asleep, and I hadn't realized that. I can't go up and surprise him. Oh, no. You know how people just play around, you know, try to be happy and surprise the spouse. No, can't do that. And also every night he's checking our perimeter of our house, making sure all the doors are locked and everything is secure so we can have a secure evening sleep. And also the loud noises, like now it's fireworks time. So he's been really on edge about that because he feels like he's back in Vietnam with all the gunfire. And so I know that we went to, he talked about it on the news about that, you know, just to be kind to your neighbors. You don't know if he's a veteran, and also, of course, the animals, which you know about that. And but that's, you know, all these noises that are happening. And already, it's been about a week or 2 that they've been started already. So that's another thing to think about, you know,
And
check your
especially
neighborhood.
with the illegal fireworks that are so
Yes,
loud,
yes,
you could
yes.
easily imagine that it sounds like a combat zone.
Yes, definitely so.
I also want to add animal therapy. It's wonderful. We've bought, I think, 12 dogs for veterans, and it calms them. It makes them feel secure.
Yeah.
So animal
Awesome.
therapy and music therapy, we use a
Yeah.
lot of that too. Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's heartwarming.
On that note, and we've never had an animal in our lives. We just have our little dog Jackie. We had him for about 7 years now. My husband was the first to resist having an animal. You know, I don't want an animal. And then now that's his right-hand man. I mean, that dog is like doesn't go anywhere without my husband, or my husband doesn't go anywhere without him. So yes, I totally agree with that. It's just a wonderful support system, a wonderful resource to release some of to get them calm, or just a distraction, something to focus on besides maybe something that's negative. He's got this dog that just adores him, and he adores the dog.
Well, and animals are such a great source of unconditional love. It's been shown that they decrease your blood pressure and just help you relax and promote longevity. So that's actually really exciting to hear that you, Dr. Blanchard, have used that for therapy, and also to
And it
hear from
works.
your own experience with issues that your husband has had, how much a difference the dog has made in your household.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back to Linda, and let's talk a little bit about the wall and how you became involved and what you're doing with the wall arriving.
So like I said, I've been involved with Carl Ross, and Tino was very good friends with my Uncle Bert McCall. My uncle was Tino's mentor.
Yes.
And so, again, I've always been involved. And so we had it here in 2008. And there are several different memorial walls. The moving wall is actually the first that was created, and it is a half-size replica of the one in Washington, D.C. So it's a little bit different from some of the other ones. There's a traveling wall and some different ones, but the moving wall was the first one. And I love the story, and I just learned this not too long ago, that John DeVitt, one of the organizers, creators of the wall, he and his friends had been to Washington, D.C., to the Vietnam Memorial, and was obviously very touched by it and wanted to have something similar on the West Coast. And so he was back in Washington, D.C., and was meeting with some Vietnam veterans and talking about the project. And one of the gentlemen said, "Well, that's great. Is it going to be portable?" And John looked and said, "Yes, it will be." And then had to go back to his friends and went, "Okay, so this is going to be a mobile event." But it's their idea was that not a lot of people will be able to make it back to Washington, D.C. to see the Vietnam Memorial Wall. And so they wanted something where it could go to the local veterans, and so they could experience the wall, and also as a public display, that a bit of history for people who may not be familiar with the wall. Tino shared with us last night that he ran into somebody that was similar age that had never heard of the Vietnam Wall. So it's an opportunity for the public to see these and touch 58,915 names, right?
58,319.
58,913.
No, not 319.
Yeah, there you go.
58,319
names.
And 3 you said had just been added.
3 just were added. So if a veteran has passed away due to his injuries, suffered from the Vietnam War or Agent Orange, their name can be added to the wall. It's requested by the family.
And now it's called
Casualties
Casualties of War.
They used to be KIAs, Killed in Action, and now they're Casualties of War. But one of the things, it's called the moving wall. And Tino had said at the breakfast that we held that it's not the moving wall because it moves from place to place. It's the moving wall because it moves you. Those are not just names on the wall. Those are men and women that served and died for our country.
Sacrifice.
And for me, it's not just a wall with names. They become my guys. When it was here in 2008, my daughters were 7 and 9, and they helped people find names on the wall.
Wow.
Which I think was easier for people to talk to these cute little girls than it was for adults, because children have that. So my children would come home each night and they would write down the name of the person on the wall and a little bit about the stories that they heard. And just really impacted them. And that was one of the things they wanted to see when they went to Washington, D.C., was the Vietnam Wall and find their guys on the big wall. So the moving wall is just an amazing display, and it's very solemn. It's very impactful too for our veterans. Tino and several of the other veterans have been transporting other Vietnam veterans to mental health clinic as it gets closer. So, as it gets closer, it becomes more, they're excited for it, but they also, those are their friends, their buddies. Some of them don't know the person's name, they just know their nickname. So they don't know who they are on the wall. It's an incredible honor for me to be able to help pull this together and make it a successful event.
And it will be hallowed ground when the wall is assembled and put together. To me, what's amazing about it is the Vietnam War is the one war, especially that when veterans came home, they weren't appreciated. And to have this travel all over as a celebration, as a remembrance, and to point out the importance of what happened during that time is really critical.
Yes. It's a great opportunity for families to bring their children and tell them about what happened and to honor those and welcome home those veterans, those Vietnam veterans that they didn't get. That's our main thing, is not only remembering those on the wall, but honoring and showing our love and appreciation for the Vietnam veterans that are still here.
So tell us the where and the how about where this is going to be, when is it going to be open, what hours, how can people come and see it?
Great. So the wall will be open starting on June 29th. There's going to be a ribbon cutting at 3 o'clock. It will be at Weber Point Event Center in downtown Stockton. As soon as the walls are put in place that morning, the gates will be open, so we're thinking between noon and 1 o'clock. Again, the ribbon cutting will be at 3, and the first ones to walk on the red carpet around the wall will be our Vietnam veterans and their spouses or widows. At that point, when that is over, once the ribbon cutting's done, then we'll start the reading of the names, and we will read every name on the wall over the next 4 or 5 days. The wall will open at 3 will be available from the ribbon cutting through July 3rd, about 1 o'clock. 24 hours. There's a lot of veterans who will come in the middle of the night to 3 o'clock in the morning. And then on July 1st, Saturday, we'll have a special ceremony where we'll honor our Vietnam veterans and remember those that are on the wall. It'll probably be about an hour where we'll have the POW MIA ceremony. We're going to do laying of wreaths. Edison High School's choir is going to provide the music. It's going to be a really amazing event and a way to show our appreciation for our Vietnam veterans and for their families.
And there's no fee to
No
go to
fee
this?
to come in. Parking is limited. There won't be parking in the park, but there's no charge for it. We will accept donations, and all of the money collected will be donated to the Moving Wall organization.
Awesome. And I understand you also need volunteers for the information booth, for reading the names and other things. If people want to volunteer, who can they contact?
The best way is to email Stockton the Moving Wall 2017 at gmail.com. That's our central email address, and we can get that to the appropriate people.
Can you say that one more time?
Stockton the Moving Wall 2017 at gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome. Let's go back. I'd like to go back and talk to all of you about the auxiliary for the Carl Ross Post 16. We'll start with you, Mary.
Okay. I just wanted to go back just one step here.
Okay.
There are 69 local, I think from Stockton, Stocktonians that are on this wall. Next month is my 50-year class reunion. Just a shout out to the 1967 Stagg High School graduates who are going to be celebrating our reunion next month. And we lost, that I am aware of, 3 of our high school graduates, Brian Bennett, John Mariani, and Leonard Newton. They're forever in our hearts, and we remember them at every class reunion. So if you know a Stocktonian that was killed in Vietnam, their name will be on the wall. In terms of the American Legion Auxiliary, we are a wonderful organization. We are the women's largest national organization in the all over the world, as I understand it. We are very active in the community, and I'm just going to read our little mission statement so I don't go off track here.
And talk about
It's
where
very
you're
short.
located.
Okay,
also,
we are
how to
located.
reach you.
We are located at Carl Ross Post 16 at 2020 Plymouth Road in Stockton, California. And we are the American Legion Auxiliary number 16, Unit 16. And please come and join us. We need more auxiliary members. We'd love some younger members to join us as well. We need new ideas and to keep us going, keep us sustained, and keep us aware of what's going on with our newer veterans coming home from Iraq, Afghanistan, even the Persian Gulf War. They're all experiencing a little bit different issues. Some of them, thank God that the Iraq, Afghanistan, Persian War, Gulf veterans, they have learned a lot from the Vietnam veterans, how they were treated, as you mentioned, when they came home. We may not agree with the war that's going on, but we will always support our veterans, no matter, what, unlike the veteran that came home from the Vietnam War. They are going to be experiencing different health issues, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Persian War, Gulf. They are different. They were exposed to a different environment as compared to our Vietnam military personnel that were there. So it's a constant learning process when our veterans come home. So some of them will have the same classic PTSD issues like Dr. Blanchard was talking about earlier, but there are different issues to what they saw in their experience in the military. They may have some commonality and some comradeship with their veteran counterparts, but their veterans' experience is a little different than their counterparts. And so they have to be treated individually as they come in for help. Then back to our mission statement from the ALA. We advocate for veterans, educate our citizens, mentor youth, and promote patriotism, good citizenship, peace, and security. That's just a one-line summarization of what we do from ALA. We do reach out into the community trying to get a hold of our youth to join a post, whether it's our post or when they graduate from college to belong to a post somewhere else, wherever they end up locating in their lifetime. Our Vietnam veterans sustain our Carl Ross Post 16 and our ALA. We support them. We sustain the post as well. But life goes on. We're all getting a little older, and some of our veterans are a little less mobile. And as you know, we're there for the community, and so it would be nice if the community would take an active involvement or an active interest in what we do at the post to help our veterans in the community. So, yes.
I want to add to that. The auxiliary used to be a women auxiliary.
Yeah.
And headquarters changed that and banned it, the men auxiliary. So now we have a co-educational auxiliary, men and women. And it was surprising because for years we had women leaders, women president, women treasurer. Guess what? When the men came in, we have a man president at auxiliary. So it's evolving, the auxiliary, and changing personalities. But they're all veterans oriented.
Awesome. And to be an auxiliary member, do you have to be a spouse of a veteran? What are the requirements?
Well, for the VFW, your husband had to have served abroad. But for the other auxiliaries, it was not required. But they would check a husband's honorable discharge to make sure that they had served abroad before they would accept you in a VFW.
Yeah. And as I understand it, we just have to have somebody in the military that's been in your family to join the ALA,
Yes.
not necessarily a spouse. Is that right, Mary Adame? Do you agree with
even
that?
stepmothers or stepfathers. You have to, brother,
Father.
sister, father, grandfather,
Grandparents,
great-grandfather. So, and even if you don't, we still accept volunteers,
Awesome.
even if you don't have somebody
And
in
we
the
provide
military.
scholarships for family
Yep.
members, whether it be a wife, mother, children, grandchildren. And each year we give almost $50,000 worth of scholarship. Yeah.
One of the local scholarships is the Delta College. We award one to our veterans, a female veteran, as a matter of fact, because we are a female organization right now that I'm aware of. I'm surprised by this news. So we reach out to Delta College, like ALA currently. We agreed to give them a monthly stipend to Delta College Veterans Resource Center. We give them a monthly stipend to help out with their food pantry.
Wow.
And that stipend is meant by one of our generous ALA members, and so we donate that on a monthly basis. We have meetings with them. We go to Delta College. We talk with them. We kind of, they're kind of like their moms. We sit around. We were cooking for them for a while. That got to be a little crazy. It's like, what? We can't be doing this every month. And so we voted on giving them a monthly stipend, and they really appreciate it. They get fresh fruit for the kids and other items that last a little while that they can just run in there and fix a quick meal. And, when you're a student, you're unlimited income, and so they'll come in, fix a little something to eat, get their energy back, and then go out to class. And they're very, very thankful when we have been there, and they go in and do that. They come and thank us again for allowing that stipend to come into their facility, into their organization.
Awesome.
We also work with UOP.
Yes.
You have a veteran center there, too.
Yes, we do.
I was going to ask you if you had anything to add. Talk about the UOP facility.
Chad Reed is the director for the Veterans Resource Center at University of Pacific, and they just are in a new building, and so we're very excited to start working closer with them.
Okay, and Mary Adame, I want to come back to you. I'd like to know for you personally how it feels that the wall is coming back to Stockton.
Well, it's over 58,000. It's just a monumental number, and it's just, breaks your heart. But it's not only for the veterans, but also for the community, for your children. We need to educate, just to say something, after Julie said, not Julie. Linda, Julie's your daughter. Oh my God. And it's to educate the children, the youth, and because they're our future, and to let them know about who served our country, and who was able to let them continue going to school to be free. This is a wonderful country, even though it's not perfect. There's no countries that are perfect, but it's all about freedom and having a choice. So I talked to my husband yesterday, Tino, and we've been married 47 years. I can't even believe that. Mm-hmm. And he said it's educating the youth. He's all for the youth, so because they don't have this in the history books, and it's very, very important for them to know. And just on a side note, getting back to Vietnam, they sprayed that agent, AGNT orange, which is lethal. It's chemical. It's deadly. And actually, they sprayed it for the foliage there in Vietnam, so they would get rid of the foliage, so the enemy couldn't hide. Well, unfortunately, it's cancerous. My husband 2 years ago, I just was very, very upset, crying almost every day when they told him that he had cancer of 2 major organs. And I said, oh, please, God, don't let me lose my husband. And it was just horrible. I don't know how I survived. I prayed every single day. And I had support, of course, from the Ladies Auxiliary and from family. And he went to the VA hospital in Palo Alto, and the Stanford doctors do the surgeries there. And with a robotic arm, they remove the tumors. Wow. It's just amazing. And then they collaborate with Stockton, with St. Teresa's Comprehensive Cancer Center, and he had to go through radiation. No, it was chemo, not radiation. Yeah, that organ you can't do chemo on it. So he had radiation for 6 weeks, Monday through Friday, and luckily it was very short, maybe 10 minutes. He was in and out of there, and I took few days off to be with him those first few days, and then friends would come and be with him, but he could drive home, and good thing it was close, and good thing it was in Stockton. So that was a big advantage there. And but it was like, oh no, this just can't be happening. It's just, I don't want to lose my husband, and so it's just horrible. Yeah. So he's clear. Yeah. Thank God he is clear, and he's still, we still go day by day, and Of course, he has a lot of pain in his back and sciatica and his legs and tingling and all that. And he's been to the doctor too and had, injections. And so every day, just like Mary said, it's pain, and they are survivors. But it does get old. My husband says, I'm really tired of, having pain every day, but I know I have to go on. And so I said, oh, please do, honey.
And he shared the story when he was on this show a couple months ago of how long it's taken and the work that he's done in filing the papers and all the other stuff to bring the wall here. And I was surprised to know that it's a year. It took years. Do you know exactly how long?
So it was here in 2008, and as soon as the wall left, we submitted the paperwork because they said it takes they rotate out through about every 5 years. Well, it's been 9 years, and when Tito received the envelope, he let it sit there for a while because he knew it's a tangible thing, and he knew what that Pandora's box that was going to open up. And as we've been meeting, the committee has been meeting, and we've been talking about this. That's been my motto, or my little tagline as we leave is, to make sure that we're taking care of our Vietnam veterans, because as excited as they are about it being here and how honored they are, it brings up those memories, and as it gets closer, it just brings them up more and more. And then adding the illegal fireworks, that just, where we see, the beautiful lights and the excitement, that puts them right back into a combat position. And so trying to really help them remember to be aware that this is coming, because I think if you're aware, at least you can prepare yourself a little bit more. But it's not just the Vietnam veterans that have been with our committee. We have to reach out to those who we don't know, we haven't identified. When it was here in 2008, there were men that would come to the gates of Weber Point and just stop. They couldn't come in because it was too emotional, too difficult for them to come to the wall and see their friends, their buddies, the people that died next to them. So we just need to really make sure that we will have mental health trailer out there.
Good. Excellent.
And
I was going to ask about that.
Yes, so that was something we have this year that we didn't have in 2008. So they'll have that opportunity if they need to, but it's mostly.
Is that 24 hours also?
I believe it will be. Yes.
Wonderful.
I know it'll be there, especially in the overnight hours, because, like I said, that's when a lot of the Vietnam vets will come out because they don't sleep well. It's very difficult. And so, what I'd like to encourage people is it's not just the Vietnam veterans. It's all of our veterans, anyone who has served, especially in a combat position. They've sacrificed a lot so that we can go to school and go to work and go to the malls without the fear of something terrible happening. And so, they've risked that for us, and it's our responsibility to now take care of them and make sure that they're getting the medical treatments that they need, that they're getting the emotional and mental support that they need. And that's our responsibility. I'm not a veteran, but I can be there to support them and to help them and make sure that they get the services that they need.
And I think that's an important point, is that we all can help each other, and especially for people that were willing to put their life on the line to fight for our freedom, it's important that they feel supported by our community, and we really have to do something to decrease the daily suicide rate.
When it was here in 2008, I was in charge, the same as I am in charge of the readers. We had over 300 readers from the community, so the community is very supportive. We didn't even have to advertise as much. They were there, they were calling, and they showed up, so it's good. And I want to just share a story quickly, and maybe you all had heard it. a school teacher decided to educate the young elementary school kids about how they got their freedom. So first day of school, all the kids went to school, and the empty room, there were no desks. And the kids were wondering, well, where are all the desks? How are we going to study? And then each desk was being brought in by a soldier to show them physically, these are the people who gave you the freedom, who give you a school to study. And I thought that was very, very visual kind of activity that they will never forget. And I think that's what you're saying, educate the young. Don't wait until the teenager. We're already too late, because I teach at the college level, so I know you got to start in first grade. And I think that's what parents and families are doing when we talk about war. I mean, war is hell, but we have to remember those who were sent to war to protect us. And I think the young people appreciate that. Yeah. I think they're appreciating it more and more as we become more and more active, and that's where the responsibility is. We have to be reminding them.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that a little bit. Well, we have grandchildren or children or adult children, and the grandchildren, those are the ones you need to bring to our events on Friday night barbecue at the Carl Ross Post 16 or any other post, because it's there that they recognize. They see an old veteran who'll tell them, who's kind of grew up with them. They'll deal with that personality, and they'll, okay, that they get to know the veterans that are at that post and who are grandparents and parents, and it kind of gives them an idea the sacrifices that our veterans did make. I know my grandkids, my granddaughter is a junior auxiliary member, and she's 9 years old, and she loves coming to the post, and so does Carson. Carson wants to be a soldier someday. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to be a Marine. He wants to be an Army, but it's okay. What? Grandpa says Marine, Carson, but he wants to be an Army guy. And back to the diseases that that Vietnam veterans have been associated with when they fought over there. Also, the exposure to Agent Orange has created issues with diabetes, and also with Guillain-Barré. Wow. So they need to, with that, if you were exposed to that, they need to apply for a benefit for being exposed to the Agent Orange, because those have been two of the side effects from being exposed to Agent Orange as well.
I just want to show this so that when they come to the wall, if they need help, we have people wearing these, and just look for this badge so that anybody needs a rubbing off the wall, we will help them. So this is what everyone will have on in the staff, and it's important that they look for these if they need help.
Yes. We'll also have people helping find names on the wall. They'll be in light blue shirts. It'll say staff on the front. There's a picture on the back of part of the wall, and it'll say gone but not forgotten. And then our monitors, our people helping with security, they'll be in yellow T-shirts. So if anyone needs any assistance, they can go to either one of those groups of people, or someone that, like Liz Blanchard said, with the badge. We'll have plenty of help out there for them.
How are the names listed on the wall? Are they listed
alphabetically?
Okay.
So they're listed by date of death. So it started in 1959, and unfortunately, they, doing more research, realized that the first casualty was in 1957, but the wall was already started, so they weren't able to go back. But those names are added. So it goes from 1959 through 1975, and so it starts. So it's kind of at an apex. So it'll go from the center out. So there's an east wall and a west wall. And then the names are listed. They're listed alphabetical by year. So it takes a little bit to find them, to get used to it, but that's why we'll have people out there that can help them find the names.
And is there a database, let's say someone knows someone that died in Vietnam but doesn't know when, can you look it up by their name?
Yes, so there will be a very thick book out there. There's also, we'll have a laptop out there where they can search it. There's a website called The Virtual Wall that lists the names and what the panel and what line is. There's also an app called The Virtual Wall that does the same thing, and it's kind of a cool thing because it shows their picture. They've worked really hard on getting pictures donated of each
Wonderful.
each person on the wall, and so and it tells a little bit about them, their hometown, when they were killed, and kind of what the circumstances were if they have that information. And so we'll have that available to people. We'll have the paper out there and the lumber crayon that they can do the rubbings.
Awesome. All right. Any final comments, Mary?
Well, my final comment would be that I would hope that as many Stocktonians or Central Valley community come to visit the Vietnam Moving Wall as your tribute and as your respect to honor a fallen veteran, a fallen hero, a fallen warrior whose lives were cut short too soon. And this is definitely a way to memorialize them, and to please try to attend.
Mary?
Yes, if you have a veteran friend, be sure to let them know about what's going on with the Vietnam Moving Wall, but also all the resources out there that are available for them. I know many of them are reluctant to come. They don't want to tell their stories. It just brings up so many mental issues and anxiety. But there are resources, and it wasn't that way in the past, you know, when it was a very controversial war, but we still need to take care of our veterans. You know, when they came back, there was no hoorah. They couldn't wear their uniform. They were spit on. They were called all kinds of names, and it was just horrible. Now we see on TV, you know, on the media, everybody welcomes them home, and every time, just my husband gets really teary-eyed, you know. So you know, just if you see a veteran on the street. Sometimes they're wearing their caps or their uniform, something that identifies them that they are a veteran. Please go up to them. They really appreciate when you go up to them and say, thank you for your service. And those few words just mean a whole lot for them. So that would be two things that you can do is, you know, thank a veteran and also make them aware of all the resources that are available. Thank you so much for having us.
Dr. Blanchard?
I just want to remind people that are visiting the wall, it's sacred. They shouldn't bring loud music. They shouldn't be having a party. It's not a party. It's a tribute to honor all those fallen heroes. So I hope they come with respect when they come visit.
Linda?
Well, we'll be here the week before 4th of July, and that's when we celebrate our freedom. So I would just encourage the public to come out to the wall and, like I said, with respect. It is hallowed ground. It will be blessed by our Native American Vietnam veterans. So it
Awesome.
it is hallowed ground, and we just want to give people the opportunity to experience the wall. There will be Vietnam veterans out there that they can talk to. Sometimes they'll talk, especially if you're there later in the evening. The stories start to flow, and I just think it's really important that we show our love and respect for our Vietnam veterans, both the ones here and the ones that were killed in the war.
Definitely. And I want to thank all four of you for coming out. I think this has been a wonderful discussion and just a wealth of information. And I want to sign off and just thank All Creatures Emergency Clinic as a sponsor of our show, and just remind our listeners that the Voice of Stockton is your radio station. This is your voice. Please support our Tower Up events and help support us to get a tower for our radio station. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.